PR Connections Radio presents.
Welcome to Vegas Hockey Hub Recap here on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. And on this edition of Vegas Hockey Hub Recap, where we break down every single game of the 2024-2025 season, we are going to be discussing the most recent matchup where the Vegas Golden Knights took on the Calgary Flames, and this was a very eventful game. There's a lot of positives that come out of this matchup, and we are going to talk about all of that on this episode, and I'm looking forward to talking about all of this here on Vegas Hockey Hub Recap here on PRConnectionsRadio.com. Now, when it comes to this recap and discussing what happened with the Vegas Golden Knights and the Calgary Flames, let's get into the pre-game notes where Ivan Barbashev, he is still injured. He is not in the lineup. He has been missing for some considerable amount of time, dealing with that injury that he suffered a while back. And Nicholas Waugh is still injured as well. So having two members of the Vegas Golden Knights not being in the lineup, that has, adjusted the lines and everything. But for the most part, all it has done is that it's elevated Victor Olofsson to the first line, and it put Tanner Lesniewski into the starting lineup. That's really the main change here. But yes, that was part of the pregame notes. The fact that Ivan Barbashev and Nick Waugh are still injured and are not in the starting lineup for your Vegas Golden Knights. And we'll get into the starting lineup in just a little bit. And getting into the starting lineup for your Vegas Golden Knights, on forward line one, you have Victor Olofsson, Mark Stone, and Jack Eichel. Now, Mark Stone and Jack Eichel, they have been on your first line for pretty much the last 15 games. This has been a situation where ever since Mark Stone came back from that injury back in November, he has been with Jack Eichel, and they have arguably been the two most productive players in terms of scoring on this team. And then Victor Olofsson has really started to gel. Now, I understand that Jack Eichel and him were teammates in Buffalo. That was the main reason they brought him over to Vegas, because of that connection that he had out there in Buffalo. But you're starting to see more of that. It's like the more games played with Olofsson and with Eichel. And what's interesting is if anybody goes back to our season preview when I broke down the lineup, Victor Olofsson, Jack Eichel, and Ivan Barbashev was the projected first line. And then it changed throughout the preseason and everything. Eventually we got Barbashev, Eichel, and Stone. But yeah, a lot of people were assuming that Olofsson and Eichel would be on that first line to begin the year because of that connection there. And it's really good to see them connect here. On the second line, you have Tomas Hertl, William Karlsson, and Keegan Kolesar. So Keegan Kolesar is having a career-high performance so far. He has been having a real stellar performance on the Vegas Golden Knights. You have William Karlsson ever since coming back from injury from the beginning of the year. And then Tomas Hertl, him being as a wing compared to a center. Now, throughout the season, we have seen a lot of Tomas Hertl and Pavel Dorofeyev be together. But you have Pavel Dorofeyev be on line three with Brett Howden and Cole Schwindt. So Cole Schwindt, him being on that fourth line for majority of the year, on the third line for this one. And then on the fourth line, Tanner Pearson, who has really earned an everyday spot with the Vegas Golden Knights, Tanner Lesniewski, and then unfortunately, Alexander Holtz. He has just really not found his place with the Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, it's only 36 games, but we're really not seeing any great positivity from Alexander Holtz. So, I mean, those are the forward lines for you. Once again, it is Olofsson, Eichel, Stone, Hertl, Karlsson, Kolesar, Dorofeyev, Howden, and Schwindt. And then you have Pearson, Lesniewski, and Holtz. Now, defensive pairing-wise, these have really not changed at all. Really, ever since the beginning of the year, it's been pretty much consistent. And that is Noah Hannafin and Alex Pietrangelo is pairing one. Pairing 2 is McNabb and Theodore. They've been together for years. And then on pairing 3, and they've been together for a while now, and that is White Cloud and Haig. So that would be the situation there defensively. And then in net for your Vegas Golden Knights, we've been seeing a lot of Aiden Hill recently. Now it's time to rotate and have Ilya Samsonov be back in net for the Vegas Golden Knights. And when you're watching this game and being able to see what happened throughout this night, this is one of the best performances the Golden Knights have had. Really, ever since like maybe mid-November, the Vegas Golden Knights have built up this well-oiled run of just racking up win after win after win. But, we've had a few comeback victories. We've had, some overtime situations with the Vegas Golden Knights. But we haven't seen as often this year a dominating victory. But we did see it here tonight. And we're going to go over all of that here on Vegas Hockey Hub Recap here on PR Connections Radio. Now, in the first period of this game, being here at T-Mobile Arena, there was no scoring. There was nothing on the stat sheet that would indicate that the Vegas Golden Knights had any momentum in this first period. But when you watch this game, Victor Olofsson and Jack Eichel, there were a few opportunities that just did not go in. Victor Olofsson had 5 shots on net tonight, and that was really good. Jack Eichel had a couple. And this first line, there was an opportunity where it just went wide and it just did not connect. But this first period, it being 0-0 is going to make it seem like they just skated around for 20 minutes. But in actuality, the Vegas Golden Knights had 3, possibly 4 opportunities to get on the board first. And I like the energy we saw in the game tonight. Bruce Cassidy, this is an energy type of situation. The Vegas Golden Knights throughout the year have been known to be that high energy type of team. And it's very different than previous years. We've done Vegas Hockey Hub Recap. This is the second season we're doing all 82 games. And we complained last year throughout the season at various times that the Vegas Golden Knights would start out sluggish in the first period, and then they would get better throughout the second and third. Whereas for a majority of this season, I have not seen that. There's been maybe 1 or 2 road games where they started out sluggish, but for the most part, the Vegas Golden Knights have shown some good energy in this situation, and I really like what they have done throughout the first 20 minutes. So even though you got into the intermission, they all went back to the locker room after 20 minutes at 0-0. It was a good outing by Vegas. I like what we saw from them there. Now, in the second period, you would have a former Vegas Golden Knight. He would make an impact by getting the first penalty of this game, and that would be for the Calgary Flames, as you would end up having, and I'm using NHL.com, the box score is my reference for this, Braden Bahal, the former captain of the Henderson Silver Knights out there in the AHL. He was sent over to Calgary on waivers. He was claimed by them. He would get a penalty on Noah Hanifin, and that would open up the door for the Vegas Golden Knights. And this would be a situation where Noah Hanifin would deliver himself, as Noah Hanifin would put the Vegas Golden Knights up by 1 halfway into the second period. Now, according to the box score, this would be an assist by Alex Pietrangelo and Tanner Pearson. Now, we saw the Alex Pietrangelo assist, but I did not remember that Tanner Pearson was part of it. Just wanted to double check and make sure on that. But yeah, Noah Hanifin and Alex Pietrangelo, they really set up this play well. And for Noah Hanifin he takes the penalty from Braden Bahal, and then he puts it in the back of the net. And that was very important for the Vegas Golden Knights. And I like what we saw from them there and everything that happened. But what I'm going to say when it comes to the Calgary game is that you also had something interesting happen afterwards. And that was the fact that you had a situation where this would be some little bit of interesting, not hijinks, but some stuff that would happen afterwards. So after the goal, there would be a penalty called, and it would be on Tanner Lesniewski. He would get a tripping penalty, and he would go to the penalty box. Now, a little bit later, about a minute later, you would get a double minor from Brett Howden, as he would end up, causing something with Jonathan Herbadou, and it would be a high sticking. So that's interesting. The fact that you have this high sticking by Brett Howden, and Brett Howden, he already made his contribution earlier in the game. But when it comes to the Calgary Flames and the Vegas Golden Knights game, it's very fascinating how Brett Howden, he would have a goal in this game, but he also would have a 4-minute double minor for a high sticking at the end of the second period. And at the end of the second period, being a 1-0 game, and Vegas Golden Knights, I like what we saw from them tonight. This was really a solid 40 minutes. So you're up 1-0, and it's kind of similar, and this is a parallel here. The last time the Vegas Golden Knights had a shutout was earlier this month, and that was against the Edmonton Oilers. So it's kind of been around 20-something days since they had their last shutout. So for the Vegas Golden Knights, this was a fantastic situation. And I'm going to sing his praises one more time. But this was a great performance by Victor Olofsson. He would not get player of the game. We'll talk about that later. But Victor Olofsson, I really like what we saw from him. He even had a couple blocked shots in this game. I believe it was 3 or 4 that he had tonight for Victor Olofsson, and that is an incredible job by Victor Olofsson. He has really done well in certain parts of the season for the Vegas Golden Knights. And for only $1 million, you can't complain when someone like Victor Olofsson's having a performance like tonight. So, yeah, I just want to sing his praises one more time. He did a really solid first period, and then he backed it up with a stellar second period. So 1-0, T-Mobile Arena, second intermission, and then heading into the third, that is where it would pick up a little bit. And for the rest of this game, there would be a decent amount of penalties, both on each side, but mostly on Calgary, where Rasmus Andersson, who actually is one of my favorite defensemen who is not a Vegas Golden Knight, I kind of wish that he would be in Vegas someday, but that's besides his point. He would actually not get 1, but 2 penalties for the Calgary Flames. The first one, he would get a hooking penalty on Jack Eichel, and then later on in the period, Rasmus Andersson, he would end up getting another penalty for Calgary, and that would end up being a holding penalty. So a hooking, a holding, I mean, that's just a real situation when it comes to Rasmus Andersson. And, it's just one of those nights. Sometimes it just doesn't go your way. For the Vegas Golden Knights, they only had 1 penalty during this period, and that was the Braden McNabb delay of game penalty. But your Vegas Golden Knights did kill that off. And I have to give credit where credit is due. They were 3 for 3 on the penalty kill tonight. And this penalty kill has done really solid over the past few games. Has not been much complaining there. And then for the Calgary Flames, they would open up the window for the Vegas Golden Knights, as they would end up getting a very important penalty, as there would be an interference call on the goalkeeper. So Ryan Lundberg, he would end up interfering with Ilya Samsonov. That would put your Vegas Golden Knights on the NV Energy power play. And who would deliver for your Vegas Golden Knights? Who would make it a 2-0 game? Well, I've been singing his praises for majority of today's episode, but Victor Olofsson with an assist from Shea Theodore, with an assist from Jack Eichel, and this would be a situation where he would put in the back of the net, the horn, the thing with siren would go off, and Vegas lights would be blaring throughout T-Mobile Arena. And Victor Olofsson, I mentioned that he had opportunities in the first period. He did really stellar in the second period. But just to wrap this up, Victor Olofsson, I like what we saw from him tonight. And this is probably one of the best performances he's had as a member of your Vegas Golden Knights. And This is just absolutely insane to think about. Jack Eichel in 36 games, 38 assists. Just to put this into perspective, Jack Eichel is on pace to get 104 points at season's end. Now, I'm not going to be a fanboy. I'm not going to be a diehard fan. I'm not going to be a super fan. I'm not going to say that he is definitely going to get to 104 points. But can I say that it's possible that if he keeps up the pace that he is at, will he match that 104 points? If he continues that pace, where he's essentially getting over an assist per game, and if he stays healthy and he plays almost every game, don't be shocked if Jack Eichel is around 100 points at the season's end. I mean, he's done really. I mean, it's too early to vote for the MVP. You know, at the end of the season, we do our Golden Knights MVP. First year we did this show, it was Chandler Stevenson. Second year we did the show, it was Logan Thompson. But so far, the front runner for the Golden Knights MVP would be Jack Eichel. Just absolutely insane what he is doing tonight. And then there would be an empty net situation. The Calgary Flames, they would pull a goalie, and Tanner Pearson, he would shoot it right down T-Mobile Arena, put it in the empty net, and Tanner Pearson would score and make it a 3-0 game for the Vegas Golden Knights. And Pavel Dorofeyev, he would get the assist here, but also Shea Theodore would get the assist as well. And it's really interesting. Shea Theodore, multi-point performance with 2 assists. Tanner Pearson had an assist in the original goal when it was up 1-0, and then he has the goal for the empty net. So multi-point performances by him. I like what we saw from him there. And overall, also have to give credit. A shutout tonight by Ilya Samsonov. There was a lot of pucks going Vegas's way. I mean, they had over 35 shots on net for the Vegas Golden Knights, but 31 saves, a shutout tonight by Ilya Samsonov. And this has definitely been one of his best performances as a member of the VGK. And with your Vegas Golden Knights picking up this victory 6 in a row, incredible. This has been an amazing month for the Vegas Golden Knights, where they normally struggle around this time, and the next month is going to be interesting to see if it keeps up the same trend as the past 2 seasons, or if they kind of buck that trend and they actually end up being great in January. But when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights, 6 straight victories, absolutely incredible. And I love what we saw from the Golden Knights. This has just been a real solid run. And this is dating back to the 15th. Okay? Put that into perspective. Dating back to Minnesota on the 15th, you have beaten them. You beat Vancouver. You beat Seattle. You beat Anaheim. You beat San Jose. And now you beat Calgary. And a lot of them are divisional matchups. And there's going to be an argument that the Pacific Division is top heavy. Okay, Vancouver has been struggling this year. Anaheim, San Jose are rebuilding. Seattle has been in mediocrity since that playoff run a few years back. But it's not about your schedule. It's not about your opponents. It's about taking advantage of it. And that's what Vegas did tonight. And it'll be interesting to see if it ends up being 7 in a row. Because 2 days from now, the final game of the month, you have the Montreal Canadiens. So that's going to be interesting. Now, here's your win-loss record for the Vegas Golden Knights. And this has been one of the best starts that we have seen in the last couple of years. This is a Vegas Golden Knights organization that has really built itself up in the first half of this season. I mean, we are almost at the halfway point in a couple of games from now. And your player of the game, I will be going to Brett Howden. Brett Howden having that double minor, some people would hold that against him. But the fact that you have, all of these things that happened with Brett Howden, he's had a career high in goals, Brett Howden has had. And I like what we saw from him today. So this is Vegas Hockey Hub. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele, in this Vegas Hockey Hub recap here on prconnectionsradio.com. And until next time, have a good one.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.